Let's go.
Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, live on location with the main man, Kev, for your match preview. And not only the match preview, but Premier League football is back. It is back tomorrow. Well, actually, tonight, Friday night, it is back. But tomorrow, the real match, Aston Villa versus Newcastle United. And we're here to preview it. Make sure you smash the like button, hit the subscribe button. We are so close now to 6,000 subscribers, less than 100 to go. So please do hit the like button and hit that subscribe button. Help us reach that massive landmark as soon as possible. And get your comments and your thoughts on the game against Newcastle, your predicted scores, your predicted lineups, everything. And we'll get to those comments. First of all, though, Kev, great to see you, mate. It's been a while. I guess life in the way, a bit of a break from the podcast and football in general. So, how much are you looking forward to this new season starting for Aston Villa?
Well, good to be back, Rich. Nice to see you too. It's funny, isn't it? And I bet a lot of our fans have felt the same. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, particularly when I saw Liverpool buying everybody, Arsenal making loads of signings, Man City, God, even Man United somehow doesn't seem to be affected by how badly they do. They keep buying players. Chelsea the same, and I was thinking we're getting further and further behind. Oh, and I was actually not really looking forward to the season. Then all of a sudden, Sensei might be coming back. Maybe some people have positive, negatives, whatever on that, but I think you can say largely he did well with us. We've signed Gressand, he's meant to be, the real deal in terms of potential. We've kept Martinez and Watkins, and then all of a sudden it's round the corner, isn't it? And I'm excited again, mate. So yeah, let's have it. Let's get this season started off with a big performance against a decent team, and then hopefully we can have a season to remember.
Yeah, 100%. Before we get right into the game, our opponents, Newcastle United, look like they're signing one of our players and one of our homegrown players, that is, in Jacob Ramsey. I think it's not yet been announced, but pretty much done and dusted. He's had a medical, everything like that. Jacob Ramsey, 38 million, I think, the fee up front, and then another sort of up to 5 million potentially on add-ons. How do you feel about that signing? It's kind of split the fan base a little bit. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm in both camps really. I like Ramsey at his best. I think, Rodgers aside, a slightly different player, but probably the closest thing we've had to the marauding Grealish we had, a few years ago. And there was plenty of times when he's run with that ball and he's done some fantastic things. I remember that great goal against Norwich away, I think a couple of years back. And there was a time, I think, particularly even under like Gerrard, where I think his performances were really good. He was scoring, goals against Man United, against Leeds. So, there was lots and lots of situations where I think he performed, but he's so injury hit. And if you're just looking at purely on stats, I mean, I did some analysis on Asensio versus Ramsey. Asensio got 8 goals in his 21 games for Villa. Ramsey got 14 in 137. So I know it's not just about stats. I know you're a man yourself and likes to say it's not just about stats, but as I often like to say, if you are, you might be really, really nice person, really, really like a good attitude, but you still got to, deliver the parcels if you're an Amazon driver. You still got to drive the train if you're a train driver. You get my point. And I think we love the idea of Ramsey. We love the idea of what Ramsey could be. And I still think he's got a really high ceiling, but he gets injured a lot. He struggles, obviously, to stay fit. He didn't have that many starts, maybe only 8 starts last season. And I think the key thing is this. After this season, if we'd kept him, we'd be going into the last year of his deal. And you're not getting basically 40 million quid for him with 1 year left on his deal. It makes a lot of sense. It's pure profit for FFP, which is a horrible thing to talk about, but it's clearly a significant factor. And I wish him all the best, but I am a bit sad about it because, it feels like with that whole Dean Smith, Jack Grealish, Jacob Ramsey era, that it's probably the last one of that, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I do agree. I'm probably more towards the camp of thinking it's a good deal as opposed to kind of being sad to see him go. But ultimately, yeah, you never want to see a player who's come through the ranks leaving, kind of with a bit of an unfulfilled potential. And that's what I feel with Ramsey. He's never quite fulfilled that potential that he's promised. It's either
Yeah.
been kind of some inconsistent performances or it's been injury, which is not necessarily his fault. They've kind of hampered it. Every time he seems to have been getting some rhythm, it's kind of not quite got to the level where we feel that he should have got to. And maybe the move benefits all parties, but yeah, I think it's good money for Villa. It's potentially a good move for him, but ultimately, I think we're probably it's probably time to move on. And where I said about the stats, I agree on Ramsey's stats, but I also think there's part of fundamentals of his game that probably aren't good enough. The way he protects the ball, the way he kind of drifts in and out of games, the way he kind of, I guess, there's times away from home where he doesn't show what he should do at home, which is probably could be said about a few of our players, where maybe that could be something that he'll iron out at Newcastle, but we'll have to wait and see. But he goes with our best wishes, and we'll
Yeah.
hopefully move on. As you say, if we get Asensio, and looks like he's agreed a 3-year contract, so if we can get that deal done, then and Gesson is in as well. Maybe that's the fresh start that both parties or all parties need. So we'll see.
Yeah.
On to that though, Newcastle have obviously looked to have signed Ramsey, but they've had a difficult window, haven't they, with regards to signing players? They've obviously they achieved Champions League football last season, but it's not quite hit off in terms of their reputation and attracting the players. It's not just Champions League football that can get you these players, which I think they've set the sights quite high in terms of the type of player that they might want to attract, but it hasn't quite paid off in that fact. And then the Alexander Isak saga. How do you think they're faring for the start of the season?
Oh my God! I mean, can you imagine a scenario when there was all the joy and all of the excitement around, winning that Carabao Cup, winning that first trophy for what was it, 60 odd years. Isak the hero, qualify for Champions League at our expense on the last day of the season, despite losing obviously as well, which is, let's not go back over that again because I'm still devastated by it. To think they would have the struggles they've had in the transfer market, and you're a Newcastle fan and you're looking at what the other teams are doing, you're looking at what Man United are doing, and you think, hang on a minute, this is a team that just about kind of kept out of relegation only because the 3 bottom teams were just so bad. And then to have a situation where they're still actively trying to find players seem to be choosing other clubs, whether it's because of the location, whether it's because of who knows what it is, but I actually feel a bit sorry for them. I'm actually quite pleased that they've not strengthened too much because obviously they're playing us next, but I do feel a bit sad for them.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to get Wissa potentially, and then I don't know with regards to striker situation whether Isak sort of does a big apology to the fans and then he stays with the club, or they manage to get someone in. But it has been a real difficult summer for them. So I guess moving on to the game on Saturday, how do you think that will set them up for this game? Because no Isak in the squad. I doubt there'll be a situation where Ramsey will be announced in time for him to be available. Wissa's obviously not signed, so it's looking like Gordon or Asula up front for them. It's hardly ideal preparations, is it, for their first 11 and their squad? However, they still have some excellent players that can hurt Aston Villa.
Yeah, it's you couldn't really ask for more really to play against a team that have finished ahead of you last season. That you've got. I know we had a really good win against them in the running, albeit in vain to get Champions League, but we had a really good win against them when they've probably had the upper hand over us over the years. I can think of obviously another good win when Watkins got a couple, and I think maybe Ramsey a few years back. But other than that, they've generally seemed to tank us when they've played us, and some pretty big defeats as well. So to have that opportunity to play them and to have the positivities that we've still got Watkins, we've still got Martinez, we've still got Kamara, and their talisman, their best player, is not going to play because he's basically down tools. It's a perfect opportunity for us. I mean, I think his behaviour is shocking, but you hear about it all the time. I mean, I saw a clip of Under the Cosh where John Parkin was talking about how he forced through a move from Macclesfield to Hull by saying his back had gone. And I thought, God, if John Parkin's doing it, and great podcast, but Alexander Isak getting a chance to play for Liverpool, probably going to win the league. You can see why he'd want to make it happen, and he wouldn't be the first. I think it's easy to give him grief for it, but I bet tons of players have done it as soon as they hear about a bit of interest. But for Villa, it's a big opportunity. We have in the past. It's we've looked plenty of gift horses in the mouth, haven't we? Man United, they've just lost the Europa League final. They've got nothing to play for, and look what happened. But I really, really think that we couldn't be asking for more. A big team at home, a chance to go a year unbeaten, which I think it would be. We just got to take that opportunity. And the thing with Villa as well, this is again, I think, been overlooked by a lot of the media, is you can argue, well, not brought enough signings in, but we've kept the continuity of the squad, pretty much most of the people that we wanted to keep. And there's a lot of value in that, as Liverpool proved last season. You don't have to add loads to it. If you've got the players, another pre-season under Emery, we know how valuable that is for any player coming on board. I'm expecting more from the likes of a Matson and a Nana, a Daniel Marlin, players that have had an opportunity. Maybe a couple of youngsters come through to the squad. Jimo Aloba, maybe Big Bogart plays a bit more. But you've also got the likes of a Tielemans and a Rodgers and a Watkins, more time together, more time to understand each other. And I think continuity under a manager like Emery can often be overlooked how important that is.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree. And I was actually going to come on to that with regards to Villa and the potential for some of our players to kind of hit the ground running at the start of the season. And Ollie Watkins, you mentioned there, has certainly benefited from a settled summer, albeit there's been a little bit of speculation around him and his potential transfer away from the club. But if you look at last summer compared to this summer, where he was playing in the Euros, he was kind of not being used by Southgate, then had that amazing high of scoring in the semi-final, and then he got injured. Then he came to Villa a bit late. Then he started the season not quite firing on all cylinders and kind of was playing catch-up all season, really, despite scoring 16 goals. Whereas this summer, he's gone off. He had an injury right at the end of the season, which almost benefited him because he didn't go to international duty, got himself fit, had a nice break with his family, come back, 5 goals in 5 pre-season games, all different types of goals, head in, good finishes, and he seems like he's in absolute meme form to start this season, and that can only bode well for Aston Villa.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you can look at last season that we were lucky we had Duran in the form that he was in to keep us in touching distance in everything that we were in, basically, because Watkins was nowhere near it, was he, in the first few months? He looks the proposition he was the season before, doesn't he? He really does. And I know he did have his moments, definitely, in the latter parts, particularly of last season. But as you say, great pre-season for him. Finding the net, getting good opportunities, could have had more. You add to that the confidence that Daniel Marlon looks like he's got as well. If Rodgers is firing on that injuries, he's as we believe he is. He's not a big worry. If Guessan seems to be, if I've pronounced that correctly, seems to be as good as everyone says he is. If we could just get Leon Bailey back to the Leon Bailey of 2 years ago, then we'd have a real chance to scare any team, I believe. If you look at that attacking threat, particularly if you've got Asensio in as well to unlock a few doors, there's pace, there's power, there's guile, there's experience. I think we can be a threat for anybody.
McGinn as well, mate. McGinn as well.
Yeah, it's true. You've got McGinn. You've got
John McGinn, particularly against teams like Newcastle, where he thrives under that physical battle and tempo. Like he can't be underappreciated, if you like, because he's massive in these types of games.
Well, I was thinking more further forward in terms of attacking positions, but yeah, I mean, I think you add to McGinn, you had a Kamara, you had a Nana. I still think we're going to have a lot to see from Ross Barkley this season at points as well. I think we've got some real quality around those positions, and if you look at the squad still, yeah, sure, we'd probably like another right back, wouldn't we? We'd probably like another striker. We'd probably like a few more things if we can make it work or not, but there's some real talent in there. We haven't even mentioned Tielemans, have we? Even as well.
No, no. I mean, he's just. I think we just come to expect him to be one of the best midfielders in the Premier League now. So
Mm.
it kind of goes without saying. But you talk about defensively, and how are you sort of feeling about the defense? Because a lot of talk over this podcast, over multiple Villa channels, has been about maybe not quite getting the reinforcements in that defense that we want, or one of my sort of worries over pre-season that we still seem to be kind of conceding the same types of goals where we either left a bit exposed at the back or we're messing about sort of trying to play it across the back line and then ultimately give the ball away. What are your feelings about how the defense is shaping up right now?
Well, you've got Torres and Mings in the left centre back spot. You've got Ezri Konza, and then what is it? Is it Lamar Bogard? Is that the fourth option now? Because last season, obviously, we brought Disassi in, and it just feels like we're a bit light in those positions. It really does. You know, if you imagine you had an injury to Konza, then you've basically got Torres, who's not the best defender out there, and then you've got Mings with his injury record. You could be in a scenario where you end up playing, you're playing a midfielder or a fullback in defence, bringing Luca Dean across. I am worried about defensively. There's been a few errors in pre-season that have given me cause for concern. Pre-season was an interesting one, wasn't it? Some really good performances, some really poor performances. And you to be successful in the Premier League, you have to have a good defence. It's funny, I think back to that season under, I think it was Dean Smith when we finished 10th or 11th. I think Martinez got 15 clean sheets. You think about how defensively solid we were there, ironically, with Mings and Konza again, and probably Cash as well, how defensively solid we were. And then in recent years, last season was, how bad was last season, mate? Come on. We've probably already conceded the Newcastle game now. We're conceding so much, they're probably already 1-0 down. We haven't kicked off for another day. First shot on target or the first attack against us, there was errors by Martinez, defensive errors. Well, I really feel this season we've got to get that right, and that feels like a bit of a hole for me right now. I think we need a signing in those areas, but we're no closer to it. From the links and rumours I've seen, I haven't really seen any centre backs particularly linked particularly strongly to us. Then if you have.
None other than that the young lad Canvo is it, but that seems to have dropped off a little bit. So we'll see if we maybe get someone in on loan or something. There's that right back Hector Force that we've been linked with, but I don't know if that depends on shifting Garcia maybe, but we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see what happens with that one. We will get a predicted lineup up because obviously there's going to be one change definitely in goal. So Martin's done his predicted lineup. I want to just bring it up just to see if you agree with this, Kev, and then get in the comments as well your thoughts on it. I've got a couple of changes that I'll probably make to it, but we'll put it up because Bizart is going to be in goal because of Martinez's suspensions. First of all, how do you feel about Bizot in goal? And then with regards to the lineup that Martin selected, what are your feelings on that?
I actually quite like the lineup, if I'm honest with you. There's obviously the whole Mings and Torres debate. I think probably Torres will play, but I would personally play Mings. That's just obviously my opinion, and I do like Pau. Bizot seems like he's done well in pre-season. Seems like he's got a bit more about him than Olsen has, maybe in terms of giving the team a bit of confidence. So I just hope that he obviously has a good performance, because if he's out of the team for a bit, at least it will give him a bit of confidence moving forward if he has to come back in. There's the whole Maatsen and Digne debate. I probably would go for Maatsen. I think he's earned the right to get a start now, based on obviously how he was back end of last season. Obviously, then there's another question around Daniel Marlon. Does Marlon come in? And if Marlon comes in, then who are you bringing out? And does Rodgers' injury depend on whether Marlon, comes in and all that kind of stuff? So I'm happy with that team. If it's that team, I'm happy with it. So good work, Martin. But yeah, if it's we've obviously got options, haven't we? What would your changes be?
I think Digne probably plays instead of Matson. I think Power probably plays instead of Mings. I like the look of that midfield just to match the physicality of Newcastle's midfield, but does it then limit what he can potentially do off the bench with regards to playing all those three midfielders at the same time? Because if you remember last season's home game, Onana came on with half an hour to go and absolutely bossed it for the last half hour and
Yeah, he did,
scored a
didn't he?
great goal. So I always feel like people get hung up on who starts and then who's not starting, and it's almost like these days with football, it's like the substitutions that you're able to make are almost more important than the starting 11.
Yeah, the
So
finishers. Yeah.
it might be that, yeah, it might be that Kamara and Tielemans start as that sort of defensive midfielder, and then it's maybe McGinn and Rogers and Marlon out wide and Ollie Watkins up top. However, if Bailey's still around, he might start Bailey and bring Marlon on. It just depends on what he wants to do with regards to changes. But I think the great thing is the depth that you've got. You've got Gesson to come on. Um, you've got an Onana potential to come on. You've got a Marlon potential to come on. You've got a Matson to come on. So he's got really good options still off the bench, regardless of who he starts. Because when you're playing against a team like Newcastle, it's can you keep that tempo up for the full 90 minutes, and having substitutes that you are able to affect the game is absolutely vital.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see also if Bailey does go, because if Bailey goes and Ramsey goes, there's two wide players that you've lost. So you need to bring someone else in there.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's get into score predictions time now, Kev. Please do smash a like button and do hit the subscribe button. Like we said at the start of the video, we are so close to 6,000 subscribers. Thank you all so much for your support. As well, thanks so much for your support over the last couple of weeks, because we've jumped up in terms of numbers of subscribers incredibly. So thank you, everyone. But please, we want to hit 6K and then we want to go further from there. So make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and get your comments in. Do you agree with Martin starting a lineup? What would you do? And then get your predictions in as well. So, Kev, just to finish off, first game of the Premier League season for Aston Villa. What are you going for Aston Villa versus Newcastle?
Aston Villa 14, Newcastle 7. No, sorry, I couldn't resist it. What a start! Man, we would definitely be first on match of the day, wouldn't we? If
You've
that was the
you've
situation.
you've been yeah, you've been looking at Paul for, is it Paul Welford who's on
Yeah,
our live
he loves.
chats all the time saying 7-0 Villa.
He inspires me. No, yeah, at least he wouldn't be last on match of the day anyway if that was the score. A 21 goal thriller today at Villa Park. I think it's going to be Aston Villa 2 and Newcastle United 1. So a narrow win. We get the season started off with 3 points. We keep that unbeaten run going at home. I hope we'll just have a bit too much from it. And as we discussed earlier on in the pod, maybe the slightly difficult start to pre-season they've had, which has continued with the whole Isak saga and the lack of signings coming in. I just hope that we've just maybe got a little bit more than them on the day.
Awesome. Who's getting the goals for you?
Okay, Ollie Watkins is getting one. And then the other goal was going to be scored by Ollie Watkins getting his second. So a brace for Oliver Watkins.
Fantastic. I'm good. I went for Aston Villa 3, Newcastle 1. Don't think we'll keep a clean sheet, but I do think we'll get the victory, and I will go for Ollie Watkins for 1, Morgan Rogers for the other, and let's say Gesson for
Come
a
on.
home debut goal.
Come on,
Why
Richard.
not?
Come on. Come on. Why not?
Well, thank you very much, Kev. Great to have you back on board for the pods. I'll be back, I think, hopefully tomorrow or Saturday after the game for an instant reaction on location, and then we'll do plenty shows next week to keep you going on the channel. But yes, can't wait for football to be back. So make sure you keep tuned to the channel. Thank you all for watching, and as always, remember, we all follow the Villa.